Uh, I'll start off showing a cartoon that I did. It was from a series called Dr. P.K. Golmalkar. These were all the kind of canteen jokes that we used to have in medical college when we, and that translated into such kind of episodes. And this one, there's this guy tossing up a coin and saying, well, best guess, heads it's malaria, tails it's jaundice. And this brings me to actual situation where, about 80% of doctors settle in the cities treating 20% of the population. Most of them don't want to go and practice in rural areas, and there's an acute shortage of trained manpower. Majority of the population is treated by, even 6th class pass people who have done some compounding with the city doctor, and they go back and they practice in their villages. And they have never, ever been exposed to any formal type of medical education before. And even as recently, if you see as, yesterday, the entire nation is trying to look at how can we deal with these kind of things. There's a paradoxical situation where one side we have specialists, super specialists who can provide the greatest of care. On the other side, basic health care itself is denied to people when they actually need it. And this is, the Planning Commission report that says there's a shortage of almost 600,000 doctors, 200,000 dentists, million nurses, and about 4 million paramedical people. And the cost of medical education is just going up. It costs you about 30 lakhs to get a seat in a decent medical school, and add to that another 50 lakhs basically to get a post-graduation seat, and the quality is kind of query as to what you finally come up with, because after spending 10 years and about 5 to 8 million rupees, you don't want to take non-clinical subjects as your area. You want to be into practice and make money. And there's a shortage of teachers, therefore, in areas of basic sciences, as much as 50% shortage. So there's no scalability in the education system. Everyone aspires, basically, after having put in so much effort, so much time, so much money, to specialize, super specialize. No one would want to go and practice primary care at a rural place. And you are actually surrounded by all this equipment in tertiary care where you're getting trained. So what happens is when you're actually, you can't now diagnose a headache without doing, say, a CT scan. And this actually creates a wide rural-urban divide, because you don't have the kind of facilities under which you were trained are different from what you would be able to practice. And where does the population there go to when there are no doctors? They have to go to someone, and someone who's already there. There have been a lot of threats of kind of derecognition. Your college will be derecognized because you don't have adequate teachers. And, professors can walk in and get a job, they say, but still there are no takers for those. No one wants to go and teach even in these medical schools. And students are now, with the escalating costs, going to China, Russia, Ukraine to do MBBS, come back. And again, it will just self-perpetuate the whole scenarios. And when we looked at when there's a shortage of teachers and what those teachers are doing, 70% of time of the teacher is going in giving repetitive, didactic lectures that teach facts. And we have to learn so many facts in medicine before we can even apply them. And this is all at the cost of teaching skills. So we thought, is there a way that we can teach all the facts differently in such a way that we can reverse this ratio? What if 70% teacher time can go into skill-based teaching? And if all the facts that you need to learn are available to you. And that brings us to the concept of, we thought, what can we do? Why not digitize the entire, say, curriculum? What if we convert the whole curriculum, get the best teachers, and in a very structured learning format, teach the entire theory of medicine? And what if we could convert those into animated lessons for better understanding by even people who just cannot understand many of those abstract concepts? Medicine is a very visual field. The structure, the function, what can go wrong can best be explained through visuals. And what if we do all the lab simulations, the virtual patients, develop virtual patients, and what if we have language models to do all of this? So I'm going to take you through a pre-recorded kind of a demo that shows the whole concept. We'll all watch it together, and then I'll come to what this all means. So we said, why not capture, the entire curriculum into a digital format, so that if I am a learner and if I were to have all the learning that is ever imparted in the entire medical education process captured with, say, 750 of India's best teachers. So if I have the undergraduate medical curriculum, I can have my foundation courses, I can have my preclinical courses, I can have my paraclinical courses, and all my clinics. So in case I go to, say, anatomy, I go to gross anatomy of the head and neck, and I go to the bones, and if I go to the skull bone, and if I go to the inside of the skull bone, and I want to take a lesson. Now, under that, I can go to any part of the lesson. So if I go to, say, the petrous part of the temporal bone, what does the software do? Well, the software actually authenticates who I am, what level of knowledge I require, and then it pulls up it takes me into a class. Now this could have been a class out of All India Institute or JIPMER or Usmania Medical College, but here the teacher comes up and starts teaching me what I want.
The temporal bone forms the posterior wall of the middle cranial fossa. Remember, this part was deliberately left out in the earlier.
So I can enlarge, I can view what the teacher is referring to. If I am a slow learner, I can go back, rewind, listen to something again and again. I can be adding my notes, putting my bookmarks. I can be doing assessments. So when I say I want to add my notes, I can add my notes, save my notes, share my notes. This is something that I need to come back just before exam. So I can actually put bookmarks. I can take assessments in the form of multiple choice questions, short questions. I can communicate with my teacher, who is available to me on a store and forward mode. So I can ask questions, I can send feedbacks, I can do searches of the latest literature on, say, an article related to this online. And if I were to similarly have searched for the entire curriculum, so if I say I want to learn about the pyramidal tract, I would have gotten lessons to do with that. I can see what it covers, and if now I want to, say, go into the course of the pyramidal tract, so what we have done is we have taken the human body and digitized it completely in 3 dimensions. So if a particular concept I have to learn and the teacher has to teach me using animation, I have all the animations related to all the structures, the function, the dysfunction, the methodologies and the processes of treatment, for example. Now, if in this manner I am able to go through and learn topic by topic each one of the lessons, say if I am allowed to interactively explore, say, the human body, maybe go into and dissect it out myself and learn in a very structured manner, then the learning process would be shifted to the learner. So I can learn anything that I want, anytime that I want, and understand it in a much better way. You can go into various continuing medical education seminars as well. So once you are a doctor, you can go visit the continuing, so I want to learn about an approach to a case of fever, or I want to learn about evaluation and management of arthritis, or an approach to a case of jaundice, or I want to actually go into say immortalizing teachers. So I go into a PG series and I say in radiology, and I can go and learn about, say, film interpretation sessions, or I can get into any different area. Now here, say, emergencies in rural areas.
For this session, we have taken the subject of emergencies in rural areas. The importance of the subject is 70 to 75% of the population live in rural areas.
Now I can go and look at various cases which are there. So I can go and go into examples.
This 58-year-old,
so I can go look at the X-ray.
Comes with fever. Nearby community center, area hospital, he goes.
Now this teacher had 10,000 X-rays of the most interesting cases that he saw in his life. We have captured all of them and made him available to the rest. So what happens is, if I say I want tuberculosis of the spine, or if I want Paget disease, he will come and teach me those particular topics. Similarly, I could have gone and searched for a particular topic across the thing. So, if I say I want breastfeeding, and under breastfeeding I am interested in, say, breastfeeding in special situations, and I want, what about mothers with typhoid, can they breastfeed? Well, I have a teacher who comes up and teaches me whether it is safe or not. So, in this way, every lesson that has ever been taught in the medical school is captured. Now, what if I am planning to teach people from in different languages? So, is that possible in that case? Yes, because say this is for all healthcare providers. I want to learn about recording of vital statistics in, say, Tamil. So, if I click, there is a Tamil teacher who comes and teaches me in Tamil. If you see, I can actually go lesson by lesson. This is what I am learning in this particular lesson. I can go and I could have asked for the same lesson in, say, Telugu. And yet another teacher comes and he now starts teaching me the same lesson in Telugu.
కీలకమైన చిహ్నములు ఏమిటంటే ఒకటి బీపీ, పల్స్, టెంపరేచర్, రెస్పిరేటరీ. ఈ 4 విషయములు కనుక మనం చూసినట్టయితే మనకు అర్థమయ్యేటట్టుగా మాట్లాడాలంటే,
and now in the same process I can actually learn many more things. I can be going interactively and learning about say the Krebs cycle. So, here is my lesson. I would have gone through the lecture, then I have come, now I am interacting with my lesson. So, I can go more into detail, or I could have gone next and done this thing to see if, you know, I remember what I have learned. So, I can actually go and, you know, submit and know how many mistakes I have made, go back and revise what all I have to learn, or maybe, you know, interactively dissect the human body. So, I can go to any layer. So, all information is available to me as layers. I can learn about the relationships. If I click on the spleen, maybe I can go and learn about the anatomy of the spleen, the relations of the spleen, the blood supply to the spleen. Now, this was a kind of a glimpse that I wanted to give into what the digital approach means. It's actually, you know, it allows one to learn from master teachers from across all medical schools from across the country. There are 750 active teaching members who are actually digitizing every lesson concept by concept. Starts with the objective, and by end of the lesson you can actually have the whole capsule. It also has simulations, graphics, you know, to actually plug in the observed skills component. And this actually covers the entire curriculum end to end, from class 1 when you go and sit in, you know, what's it like to be a doctor, and then you actually go taking people through lesson 1, 2, 3, 4 until you kind of come to the end. And it standardizes what everyone is learning and what's supposed to be practiced, because the kind of variants in standards which are there with the current form of education get you know, actually addressed through this. And also this methodology after review is now approved by the Medical Council of India, Dental Council of India. The ministry is looking at how can you know, new courses be introduced to probably bridge the gap, so that to create a new set of manpower who can go and serve into rural India with exactly the same kind of learning that is imparted in say the medical schools. Now, this also provides, the approach actually also provides a means to deliver distance education in health education. People used to say, how can you create doctors through a distance? It's not really at the distance component, because there are many components to that education, and this allows basically you know, almost all the healthcare centers, like for example the 4,000 community health centers, to become mini medical colleges. You know, what you have are learning centers there, people are already working there. So, if you go in and you join in and you work for 3.5 years as an apprentice, you are actually learning all the practical skills. And while you are learning from the master teachers exactly what medical students are learning you know, in medical colleges. Because what's a medical student? You know, you take someone from 10+2 with a minimum say 50% marks in BPC, and then you put them through a system of education where you are learning all the facts, you are learning a component of skills, and then you are able to relate to both and do. Whereas, in this case, you're doing exactly the same thing, and you're integrating also the modern medicine along with what is practiced in the community areas. So what is happening is you're actually taking people from the same community, giving them the same training in a distance mode, and then allowing them to come in and actually go and practice as community health practitioners. And this also has a component of, while you are training them in all the domain knowledge, you're also training them in technological skills. They can actually use telemedicine, because that is the kind of connectivity that can actually do a lot of shifts in the way medicine is practiced in, say, the rural areas where people are not willing to go. At least you can have them virtually available at all time. It teaches them to maintain electronic patient records so that the right kind of demographic data gets into the system. So what can these people do? I mean, this is a new cadre of healthcare professionals which will kind of lessen the burden on the existing system, but what can they do? One, they can practice preventive and promotive health in the community level. So they'll help people to actually remain healthy. Two, they can recognize danger signals of various diseases because they have been trained to do so, and then they can actually provide immediate first aid, they can actually stabilize someone, they can actually shift someone. Three, there are more than 50% of common problems actually don't require a doctor. The human body itself is a very unique, self-healing kind of organism, and what it requires is to actually, keep you symptom-free and comfortable while the body heals. And there are certain things that, you can actually treat in a very, by pre-prescribed regimen. If you can recognize malaria, then this is the treatment. If you encounter a case of diarrhea, then this is what you do. Those are pre-prescribed. You really don't have to, try something new with them. Then, of course, for another 25% of the cases, you can actually do a teleconsult. Every rural community health practitioner is connected to a doctor in the urban areas. So you can actually teleconsult and deliver healthcare there for certain kind of things. And then, of course, you can always refer, to a specialist, lessening the burden on the specialists who are already overburdened by the kind of, because everything comes to people who really you don't need to go to them. So then, finally, I would like to say that in all this, while we started with saying that, there's a lot of quackery, are we promoting quackery? Because my answer would be no, because these personnel, at least, the community health practitioners, go through a formal teaching, learning, and training process. And this is, only thing is, it's through a different method. What happens, it's just different. It's through a kind of a contact. For 3 years, you're actually doing your practicals while you're learning all the theoretical component. 80% of what I learned as an MBBS doctor is not used when I'm treating 80% of cases who are sitting in front of me. It's that other 20% that I really need that I actually have. Then, of course, these people, since they come from the community, get rooted into the community. They understand the local problems, and they are the ones who are actually delivering healthcare there in a very customized way. Not like you're trained in a particular environment and you go and practice in another. And, at least you're trying to be better. It's not the best. The best would be to have specialist doctors available everywhere, but at least it's better than the current system. So when, the whole thing can be, every home can actually have a doctor, not with a license to practice, but at least with the same kind of knowledge to take care of your own family's health. Because if you have the knowledge, if you are aware of what, when, you can always do it. Thank you.
This e-learning has always been been talked about for a long time, but we find that when it comes to practical, it doesn't translate. And usually we start at the low end, for kids and so on. And you're trying to do it from the other end, probably the most difficult course to digitize, and you're trying to do it. What do you feel are the key challenges that you need to overcome?
The thing is to actually identify what works and what doesn't. Basically, if you look at if I were to, try to teach the same, the practical angle using this, it will lose the touch and feel on the patient side. So if the whole exercise is to shift the burden of 70% of the factual learning component into e-learning, so that is the, it leaves a lot more scope for the actual practical angle on the whole thing. So if I try to, teach the practical component without a touch and feel, if I think I can create doctors, then it's just not possible. So there are certain things you can do, there are certain things you can't.
Wish you all the best in redefining medical education. Thanks. Dr. Neeraj Raj.